miss running. That feeling of being outside, alone with my music, rocking out while I'm pushing my body, the sweat, the feeling of elation when I was done with the run, the feeling that I really did something. And I never really wanted to become a runner. When I was a kid and we used to have to run laps in grade school, I was much more of a saunterer. My coach, Mr. Johnson, used to yell at me, "Hey Sanchez, why don't you kick up your heels a bit?" I don't want to. It's too hot. And later, I carried that attitude with me into my adult life. I used to say, I don't run unless someone's chasing me, and even then, fuck it, just catch me already. A couple of years ago, I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, and my friend Kristen and I were workout buddies. And we used to climb Pinnacle Mountain together or take a step class, and then we'd get a couple pitchers of margaritas and eat some cheese dips. But one day, she got me to run with her. She said, "Charles, come on, we don't have to run very far, and we'll run over by the river, and it's great for the legs and butt." So I started running. And sometimes I'd run with Kristen, sometimes Claire, sometimes Amy. It's God's sense of humor that I'm this big fag, and I always have beautiful women around me. Not bitches. So I start running. And pretty soon, I start outrunning my friends. And I'm running 3, 4, 5, 6+ miles. And I see friends of mine, and they're like, "Hey, I saw you running." And I'm like, "Yo!" And I think about training for our marathon. And I'm listening to the Killers, or the Kings of Leon, or the B-52s, running up and down the hills of Little Rock, feeling groovy. And then, I start to get a pain. Big pain in my left thigh. So I figure I probably pulled something. And I'll stretch out a little more, and I'll cut back a little bit. But I keep on running. And I have good days and bad days. And bad days. And worse days. So I'm getting ready to move up to New York, and I'm selling everything I own to get the hell out of Dodge. And I figure that, plus the pain, makes it a good time to take a month off from running. So I get settled up here, and I'm outside one day, and I think, maybe I'm past this pain thing. So I start running again. And luckily, my friend Kristen had moved up here. So we're running together in Brooklyn. And then I moved to Queens, and I'm running in Long Island City and Astoria. And then my friend Ann, another bitch, gets me to start running with her in Central Park. And then I start running without her somehow. And I'm one of those guys, one of those New Yorkers who run in Central Park. Awesome! And I'm doing the big loop, 9 miles or whatever. I'm doing that 3 or 4 times a week, and I love it. I even did the Gay Pride 5K run, which at the time was a Fedula run for me. And then, the pain starts again. Fuck! So, I go see my doctor, who sends me to an orthopedist. And the orthopedist does an exam where he maneuvers my leg until I go, "Ah!" And then he looks at my file, and without looking at an x-ray, he says, "Oh, Mr. Sanchez, I think you have the avascular necrosis of the hip." Avascular necrosis of the hip? Oh yes, you see, that is when the blood stops going to the top of the bone, and the bone starts to die. It's been happening in a lot of the HIV patients like you, very common. We need to get an x-ray, but I think you need a hip replacement. What? You mean there's not like some kind of pill I can take or something? As if having HIV isn't hard enough, that was eating my bones? Why didn't somebody tell me about this? Oh, well, Mr. Sanchez, although it's common for HIV patients, it does not happen to all HIV patients. And we don't know why it happens. If it's some manifestation of the virus or the medications, it's a mystery. So, I go and get an x-ray. Mr. Sanchez, guess what time it is? Time for you to get a new hip. Excellent. So, it turns out that it's not just in my left hip, which when I looked at the x-ray looked like a big black hole at the top of my leg, but it's also starting on my right hip too, which is going to need some sort of treatment down the line. Mr. Sanchez? Okay, so he doesn't really talk like that. Mr. Sanchez, after the surgery, there are a few things you won't be able to do. You won't be able to play basketball. You won't be able to play tennis. And, well, you can play doubles tennis, but you can't play singles tennis. And you can kiss the running goodbye. What? Oh, shit. Major fucking surgery. Do you know how they do a hip replacement? They fillet you like a fish, take your leg bone out of the hip socket, take what they call a reamer, and scrape out the dead cartilage. Then they cut the top of your leg bone clean off, replace it with a metal part, replace the other part, stick them both together, and sew you back up. It's not so much surgery as it is carpentry. So, I have to figure out how I'm going to spin this for myself. I mean, I have to have the surgery, and I'm in pain. So, I scheduled the surgery for about 2 weeks later, and my sister and my parents come into town to support me, and I'm scared, and I'm pissed. More scared than pissed. The time in the hospital is pretty much what you figure. My family was with me pre-surgery, and then I was rolled into the operating room and placed on a table, and some strange nurse man came and shaved the incision area. I remember saying to him, "Oh, this reminds me of the last time some strange man shaved this." The next thing I really remember is waking up in the recovery area, being rolled into my room, being hooked up to a morphine drip with this fabulous button that I could and did press every 7 minutes. Then later I was put on Percocet. This friend of mine came to visit me in the hospital, not a bitch. Well, actually, he is kind of a bitch. Anyway, he said, "You're getting some pretty sweet painkillers, right?" Well, the thing is, when you're actually in pain, those sweet painkillers basically just kill the pain. You don't get like high and not in pain, just no pain. And really, that's sweet enough. So when you get a hip replacement, the next day they get you out of your bed and walking with a walker. And the next day, you're walking with crutches. I was home the 3rd day. The recovery process is about a week of total fucking suck. Then like 3 weeks of getting better little by little, day by day. It takes about 6 months to completely recover. But about 5 or 6 weeks after the surgery, I'm totally walking. And I realized I'm not in any pain. I've been in pain for so long, I kind of got used to it. And now, I'm not in any. Pretty cool. So, I decided to go for a walk through Central Park. It's a beautiful day, 70 degrees, clear, gorgeous. And I see these people running. And I start to cry. I didn't know it was going to hit me in the gut. But I stop. And I take a deep breath. And I look up. And I remember, it's a beautiful day.
Sanchez! Folks, we're going to have a great audience. Put your hands together for the cast. The entire cast, starting with Stephen Joanna Briley, Cora Layton, Ashley Lozano, Kent Wood, Sanchez, and Jeffrey Lender. Good job, guys. Thank you all for coming. Have a great night.
Thanks for coming out to the tent, everybody. If you can please